Chosen one, your real identity awakens. You will know this is not random. There comes a time in a chosen one's life when the world they've been walking through suddenly begins to look unfamiliar. What used to feel like coincidence begins to pulse with purpose. What once looked like random struggle reveals a pattern, and the pattern is divine. You may have asked yourself for years, why me? Why the isolation? Why the storms that never seem to end? Why the betrayals? Why the burden of being misunderstood, even by those you love deeply? But the truth has always been waiting just beneath the surface of your existence. Wrapped in a divine sequence, you are never supposed to decode too early. Because now, in this moment, you're not just living through a spiritual awakening. You are stepping into your true identity. And the veil that once blurred your view is being lifted by the hand of God Himself. Watch this message until the end. You're guided here for a reason, and your presence matters. Your energy matters. And write your warmest wishes in the comments and type the number 99. This number vibrates in alignment with divine completeness. And by typing it, you are energizing the flow of possibility in your life. You are declaring that your season of awakening is real. It is happening, and it is not random. Your wishes, when spoken or written with truth, align the universe to respond in kind. Now, chosen one, press the hype button under the video and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And let's begin. There is a moment in every chosen one's life when they come face to face with the knowing that their entire journey was never an accident, that every setback was a divine route, that every delay was a form of protection, that every closed door was a sacred strategy designed by the hand of God. And even though it may have felt like you were forgotten, abandoned, or overlooked, especially when others seemed to rise while you remained hidden, the truth is, you were never invisible to the one who created you. Your silence was part of the preparation. Your low moments were necessary to carve a depth in you that shallow waters could never reach. And now your identity is not evolving. It's emerging because it was always there. You just hadn't been allowed to remember. You're not like the others, and you were never meant to be. This isn't arrogance. This is alignment. The isolation you experienced was not punishment. It was incubation. You were being separated for something that needed to be nurtured in sacred privacy. God was hiding you in plain sight, even from yourself. And that is why this moment feels so surreal. Because the version of you that's been rising quietly in the background is finally ready to walk forward, unapologetically. You're not arriving at your destiny. You're remembering it because the blueprint was always within you, and God has now activated it. Everything you've been through up until now has been the unlocking sequence. The rejection, the loss, the detours, the financial lack, the loneliness. It has all been a part of a master code written specifically for you. When your heart broke, it shattered open new levels of awareness. When the people you trusted disappeared, it was to force you to lean inward and upward. When the world became quiet, it was so you could finally hear God speak. Not in thunder, but in the subtle, unmistakable sound of divine truth. That truth is what is now pulling you, not just forward, but inward. Because who you really are has been waiting for this very moment to wake up. And this awakening, it's not a feeling, it's not hype, it's not a trend, it's a confirmation. It's the spiritual signal that you are ready to embody the fullness of your identity without apology. You are no longer chasing purpose. You are embodying it. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are walking in authority. And this authority was not given to you by man. It was granted by God, forged in sacred fire and sealed in trials. You've been through things others wouldn't survive. You've carried burdens no one saw, and yet you still rise. Not with bitterness, but with grace. Not with vengeance, but with vision. That's how you know you were chosen. And that's how you know this isn't random. Your real identity isn't defined by your past. It's not shaped by your circumstances. It's not limited by your environment. It is sourced from the eternal. And once the eternal wakes up inside you, everything changes. Your perception changes. Your energy changes. Your surroundings start to rearrange themselves because you are no longer vibrating in confusion. You are vibrating in clarity. And that clarity makes you magnetic not just to people, but to divine timing, to divine opportunities, to divine revelation. This is why things feel strange around you, because your spirit has changed, and the world is beginning to respond to the version of you that was previously hidden. You may have noticed that people around you are acting differently. Some are more drawn to you, others are suddenly distant. This is not random, this is spiritual, because when your identity awakens, the atmosphere must respond. There are those who were assigned to your previous version who cannot journey with your upgraded one. And that is not betrayal. That is divine sorting. God is making room for alignment, and He's doing it without asking for your permission because He already has your submission. You may feel emotional. You may feel confused. But beneath it all, you feel ready. And that readiness is your confirmation. That readiness is your prophecy. You've always been more than what the world tried to reduce you to. You've always known deep down that something inside you was different. You felt things deeper. You saw things others missed. You sensed shifts before they happened. And for a long time, you doubted yourself. You may have tried to silence it, to shrink yourself, to fit in. But God never allowed that to work because He didn't create you to blend in. He created you to transform. And transformation requires boldness. It requires stepping out of the false self that society imposed and into the divine identity that God authored. This is why everything is changing now, because you're not just hearing the truth, you're becoming it. You're not just receiving wisdom, you're radiating it. And the more you align with your real self, the more the world around you begins to shift. Doors open that were once sealed shut. Provision flows where there was once lack. Confidence rises where there was once fear. This is not because you are forcing it. It's because you are finally in sync with the divine timeline. You're no longer early. You're no longer late. You are right on time. And that chosen one is not random. That is a divine appointment. Your real identity is not just a label. It is a living vibration. It is the rhythm of your purpose, harmonizing with the will of God. And when this vibration is activated, you become a beacon, not for attention, but for impact. You begin to attract only what is in harmony with your truth. And everything that is misaligned starts to fall away. This is not loss. It is liberation. Let it go. Let it fall. Because what is coming to replace it is saturated in glory. It's drenched in divine orchestration. It's marked by a favor that cannot be explained. And you, yes, you were built for this. Your soul signed up for this before your body ever walked this earth. Even if you're scared, move forward. Even if it feels unfamiliar, keep walking. Even if you don't have all the details, trust the pull. Because what you're stepping into was prepared before you were born. You were chosen not just to survive, but to embody revelation. You are the evidence of divine strategy. You are the walking proof that God hides His most powerful ones in plain sight. And now He's unveiling you, not as a servant, but as a carrier of promise. You are not here by accident. You are not rising by luck. You are awakening because heaven said now. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to beg for validation. You don't need to over-explain your next steps. Because when your identity is divine, it doesn't require translation. It resonates. It speaks for itself. And those with the spirit to understand will align. Others will simply fall away. That's how you know the shift is real. That's how you know the season has changed. That's how you know that what is happening right now is not random. It is written. It is unfolding. It is holy. There are certain shifts in life that are not triggered by effort, but by timing. Divine timing. And what's happening to you now, chosen one, has nothing to do with coincidence. It's not a reward for working harder or a result of simply thinking more positively. It is a sacred moment that was written in the timeline of your soul before your birth, a moment that was always meant to arrive, but could only do so once you were ready to carry its weight. That time is now. Not because you figured everything out, but because you endured. Because you trusted God even when He was silent. Because your heart stayed open when you had every reason to shut it down. This awakening is your spiritual inheritance. It's not being handed to you. It's being revealed within you. There are frequencies that don't activate until certain seasons. There are inner codes that only unlock under divine pressure. You've been in the forge. The fire wasn't a punishment. It was an activation chamber. And now you are walking out of the fire, not burned, but branded. Not with shame, but with clarity. You are no longer wondering what your life is about. You are no longer second-guessing whether your voice matters. You are no longer trapped in the illusion that your presence is insignificant because now you know you are here on purpose. You are walking proof that divine delay does not mean denial, and your real identity is no longer whispering in the background. It is taking center stage. You have to understand something very deep now. When your real identity awakens, you don't just change spiritually, you change atmospherically. You carry a new energy into every room you enter. You shift conversations without saying a word. You confuse those who are still tied to the old version of you, because the energy they were once able to manipulate no longer exists. That's not arrogance, it's ascension. You are being reintroduced to the world, not as the version they constructed, but as the version God chose. The frequency of your life has been raised, and those who cannot hear it were never meant to tune in. And this is why you've been feeling so much movement in your life lately. Even when things appear still, you're noticing things you never used to see. You're feeling things you can't explain. The people around you are reacting differently. Even the things that once satisfied you now feel shallow. You're craving more, not from ego, but from alignment, because your spirit knows there is more depth, more truth, more purpose, more purity. And that hunger is not a flaw. That hunger is a divine indicator that you are nearing the well of your true being. You're no longer sipping from surface streams. You are being led to the river of identity that never runs dry. God is not just revealing your identity so you can feel powerful. He's awakening it so you can carry power. There's a difference. The power God gives doesn't inflate. It grounds. It doesn't impress. It illuminates. And you, chosen one, are becoming a vessel of that divine illumination. That's why the atmosphere around you is shifting. That's why your dreams are becoming more vivid. That's why your emotions feel more intense. That's why your boundaries are changing. You're not becoming difficult. You're becoming discerning. You're not pushing people away. You're being pulled inward because the voice of God is louder in the silence. And right now, God is whispering your truth directly to your soul. You might feel lonely right now. That is part of the process. When your real identity awakens, you will feel disconnected from things that once defined you. Certain friendships will feel too heavy. Certain environments will feel too loud. Certain behaviors will feel too small. This isn't a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. You are shedding old skins. You are releasing inherited roles that were never yours to carry. You are mourning the version of you that survived, but never fully lived. And in that space of shedding, God is clothing you with your real garment, the one that was stitched in the heavens, woven with purpose, embroidered with divine fire. You are being dressed for your real assignment. Your mind may try to make sense of this change. It will reach for labels. It will search for logic. It will panic over what it can't explain. But your spirit is calm. Your spirit knows. Your spirit has always known. The mind was trained to survive. But your soul was designed to recognize. And what you are recognizing now is that everything about your life, every pause, every pivot, every painful detour, was building toward this moment of clarity. You are not stepping into a new season. You are awakening into your design. This is not ambition. This is remembrance. You are not starting over. You are starting aligned. God is not awakening you randomly. He is not doing this because you begged or bargained. He is doing this because the time He set has arrived. Your spiritual alarm clock has gone off. And even though you don't have all the answers, your soul feels ready. That readiness is not a feeling. It is a divine command. Something within you is standing up, straightening its back, refusing to shrink, refusing to settle, refusing to stay in environments that feed your fears and starve your faith. You've outgrown the cage. You've transcended the disguise. You're not trying to escape life anymore. You're ready to embody it. Do you feel that inner nudge, that sacred pressure rising from within? That is not anxiety. That is activation. God is pushing you to confront who you really are. Not the version you learned to become, but the version He intended from the beginning. That version is fearless, not because it doesn't feel fear, but because it trusts the voice of truth more than the voice of doubt. That version doesn't chase validation. It radiates presence. That version doesn't ask for space. It takes it not by force, but by divine right. Because when you walk in identity, doors open by vibration, not by begging. And here's the secret you're beginning to realize. You never lost your power. You never lost your worth. You never lost your purpose. It was all hidden beneath the debris of distraction, expectation, and survival. And now, God is clearing the debris. You're not just waking up. You're emerging. You are no longer waiting for the light. You are becoming the light, and the people who once overlooked you are about to witness something they cannot explain. They will see you standing in rooms they never imagined you'd enter. They will hear your name in conversations they thought you'd never be a part of. They will sense the authority you now carry, not with arrogance, but with divine confidence, because you, chosen one, are no longer playing small. You are no longer hiding. You are no longer shrinking. You are awakened. The world doesn't need a copy. It needs your originality. And your real identity is the most original thing about you. It's the unrepeatable essence of your soul, the signature of heaven expressed through your being. And once it awakens, truly awakens, there is no going back. You will never again fit into false versions of yourself. You'll never again be able to tolerate mediocrity in your thoughts, in your relationships, or in your purpose. This is not ego. This is elevation. And elevation will always feel like separation at first. But you were not born to blend in. You were born to break patterns. You were born to carry light into dark systems. You were born to walk with God through places others fear to tread. You may not feel fully equipped. You may feel overwhelmed by the weight of it all. But let me tell you this with power and love. The God who woke you up is the same God who will walk you through. He didn't awaken you to abandon you. He didn't reveal your identity to leave you hanging in confusion. He awakened you because He's about to launch you. And this launch will not look like the world's idea of success. It won't always be loud. It won't always be flashy. But it will be unstoppable. It will be real. It will be rooted. Because your foundation is not built on image. It's built on intention. When God awakens your true identity, He does so with precision. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is wasted. And most of all, nothing is random. That's why as your spirit begins to vibrate at a new level, the old world around you starts to fall away. It feels disorienting. Yes, it feels unfamiliar. But that's because you are no longer seeing life through the lens of limitation. You're beginning to see through the lens of truth. And truth has always been a disruptive force. It unravels illusions. It cuts through old attachments. It dissolves false definitions. And for the chosen one, truth isn't just a concept. It is the compass. It is the path forward. It is the sound of God whispering, "Now you see what I see." You will begin to notice this unraveling in your daily life. Things that used to excite you now seem irrelevant. Conversations that once entertained, feel empty. Crowds that once made you feel safe, now make you feel drained. This is not you losing your joy. It's you shedding layers. It's you remembering that joy isn't found in distraction, but in alignment. Your identity has shifted, and the things that fed your former self can no longer sustain the awakened one. That version of you needed external proof to feel seen. But now you are seen by God, and nothing compares to that gaze. The deeper your identity roots into divine soil, the more silent your spirit becomes. Not silent in fear, but silent in certainty. The noise of proving, comparing, chasing, explaining, it fades. Because when you know who you are, there is no need to convince. And when you feel the presence of God surrounding your steps, you stop rushing. You stop performing. You stop measuring your life by the timelines of others. There is no longer any pressure to catch up because you realize you are never behind. You are in preparation, and your life has been following a divine sequence that man could never orchestrate. Every twist, every fall, every rise, it has all been forming the foundation of your real becoming. And now you understand the delays weren't denials. They were detoxes. Detoxes from attachments that would have contaminated your calling. Detoxes from relationships that would have diluted your discernment. Detoxes from environments that would have numbed your vision. You were not rejected. You were redirected. God didn't withhold. He was building a version of you that could hold what is now about to pour in. And as your identity awakens, you finally feel the strength to receive it. There's no longer confusion when doors close. You don't take it personally. You see it prophetically. You understand that every no was protecting your yes. And the more you release what was, the more you open space for what is now forming, what is now rising, what is now being sent, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. Identity is not something you chase. It's something you embody. And embodiment changes everything. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you stand. Because the truth of who you are is no longer a dream. It's your daily reality. Do you realize the spiritual significance of this? You've been trusted. Trusted with awakening, trusted with awareness, trusted with divine memory. And now heaven is watching to see what you'll do with it. Not in fear, but in faith. Because what God begins, He also sustains. You are not responsible for the outcome. You are only responsible for staying true. True to what you now know. True to what your spirit is revealing. True to what God has already confirmed in the quiet hours of your transformation. There will be moments, even now, when doubt tries to return. When you'll wonder if it's all in your head. When the familiar pain of old wounds tries to creep back in. But here's what's different this time. You know too much. You've tasted too much truth. You've seen too many signs. You've walked through too many fires and didn't burn. You've cried tears that turned into rivers of wisdom. You've sat in silence and felt the breath of God touch your back. You've whispered prayers no one heard and watched the impossible unfold right in front of you. That is your evidence. That is your anchor. And so you walk forward not arrogantly, but assuredly, not loudly, but with divine presence. Because when your identity awakens, you don't need to announce it. The atmosphere announces it for you. The right doors swing open. The right people recognize your energy. The right opportunities locate your frequency. You no longer need to strive because you are the assignment. You are the mission. You are the answer to prayers others haven't even prayed yet. Your life is a sacred message, and God is now sending it into the world. You are no longer trying to make sense of the past. You're no longer obsessed with fixing what broke you. You're no longer rehearsing old pain or trying to rewrite chapters that already served their purpose. You are free, free to expand, free to rise, free to speak, free to embody the divine rhythm that's been echoing in your bones for years. You don't need anyone's approval to become what you already are. God has already approved you. Heaven has already stamped you. The timing has already been activated. And now you are simply walking out what has always been written. There is a quiet power that comes with identity. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't perform. It simply is. It radiates. It speaks without speaking. And you, chosen one, are now carrying that kind of power. Not to dominate, but to illuminate. Not to impress, but to impact. You're no longer trying to be light. You are being light. And that is what disrupts every system that tried to define you by its limits. You are no longer confined to categories. You are no longer boxed into old labels. You are walking in the fluidity of divine identity. And that can't be explained. It must be experienced. This is why God kept you hidden. This is why certain things didn't work when you tried them. This is why the timing never felt right until now. You were not ready to hold your identity until you had healed. You were not ready to walk as your real self until you had released the survival self. And now the survival self is no longer driving. The false self is no longer making decisions. The old agreements are no longer governing your path. You are sovereign now, not in isolation from God, but in collaboration with Him. You're not just listening for His voice. You are His voice in human form, echoing through everything you touch. This is the season where things accelerate, not because you're hustling harder, but because you are finally aligned. And alignment always multiplies time. It bends reality. It reorders chaos. Because when you walk in identity, the universe recognizes its creator. And when the universe recognizes God within you, it responds with harmony. You are no longer fighting your way forward. You are flowing. You are flying. You are remembering the way. And every step you take now confirms this was never random. The moment you stopped trying to fit in was the moment your real life began, because something inside you finally snapped into truth. You were never meant to conform. You were meant to transform. The awkwardness you carried, it was holy. The way you never quite blended into the background, that wasn't a flaw. That was prophecy. And now, in this very chapter of your life, what once felt like a burden is being crowned as your blessing. Your uniqueness, your intensity, your sensitivity, your perception, they are all evidence that you've been marked since birth. And now God is unveiling the full picture. Every thread, every scar, every silence is being woven together into a living testimony of divine design. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else anymore. The real you has arrived, and the world feels it even if they can't explain it. People can't stop watching you. They can't figure out what's different. It's not your clothes. It's not your voice. It's not your posture. It's your presence. It's your alignment. It's the shift in frequency that your real identity brings into the atmosphere. And that's why you can't return to who you used to be. Not even if you tried. The veil is torn. The old illusion is shattered. Your soul has tasted the real thing now. And the counterfeit can no longer satisfy you. That craving you feel for depth, for purpose, for stillness. That's the voice of God reminding you who you really are. Do you remember how long you waited for this moment? How many nights you spent questioning your purpose? How many mornings you woke up, exhausted by a life that didn't reflect the truth you carried inside? And now that truth is no longer dormant. It's alive. It's pulsing through your body. It's rewriting your decisions. It's rearranging your path. And the best part, you didn't force this. You didn't fabricate it. You didn't perform your way into it. This was granted. This was released. This way's timed. You've crossed over into divine remembering. And once you taste that clarity, confusion has no more authority. God doesn't just awaken you for your own sake. He awakens you because the world is starving for authenticity. It's drowning in illusion. And you, yes, you have been entrusted with the antidote. Your life, your voice, your energy, your presence. It disrupts the matrix of mediocrity. It carries a vibration that reminds people of home. Not the home of buildings and streets, but the spiritual home they've forgotten. You stir something in people. You awaken echoes. You cause others to feel again, to dream again, to believe again, and all of that comes not because you try, but because you are. You're a mirror of the divine, and when people encounter you, they catch glimpses of their own identity too. This is why you must continue even when it feels lonely, even when no one claps, even when the terrain is steep and the outcome is uncertain, because this isn't about results, it's about reality. It's about embodying the truth you were created to carry. And that embodiment changes the world, not through volume, but through vibration. When you speak, the atmosphere shifts. When you move, the unseen responds. When you sit in stillness, healing begins. That is not exaggeration. That is the weight of true identity. That is the glory of God, choosing to express Himself through your human form. Don't underestimate what's unfolding. You're not just becoming confident. You're becoming clear. You're not just discovering purpose. You're discovering presence. There is a holy stillness that now lives inside you, a certainty that no opinion can disrupt, a knowing that no storm can drown. And that stillness isn't something you earned. It's something you remembered. It was always there, buried beneath years of noise and roles and pressure and trying to be enough. And now you are more than enough, because you are finally aligned with the divine signature you were born to carry. Everything you are noticing right now, the shift in your desires, the pull towards silence, the magnetic connection to truth, it's all confirmation. God is not hiding from you. He is moving through you. And the more you trust this flow, the more miraculous your life will become. Not in ways that impress the world, but in ways that transform you. You'll begin to see signs everywhere. Numbers, dreams, visions, synchronicities. These are not fantasies. They are frequencies. And you are finally tuned in. What used to be static now carries sacred messages. What once looked random is now radiating with divine design.